Hello, everyone. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and I am Cece Schatz, and you're listening to Going Solo with Cece Show. So those of you that don't know me, I am the doyenne of relationship building, and you're probably asking yourself, what the heck is a doyenne, right? Well, a doyenne is really someone that, like a mother or a leader, someone that will help take you through some of the difficult times. We're having You're having some backfeed here, so let's see if we can figure out why. Don't you love this when this happens? No. I don't know if I can correct it. Anyhow, so I want to help you through some of the darkest times in your life, moving you through to really living your best life. And how I do that is by connecting you with some really great, awesome people that move you and just get you through some of those rough times. And we hope that you can connect with them as I do. So we're going to fix this background noise, but I don't want to delay our guest any further. Our guest tonight is a wonderful attorney. She has been working for from Dallas, Texas, and Jennifer Hargrave. Welcome to the show, Jennifer. I'm going to have to try to get this worked out, I think. Welcome. Jennifer, can you turn your volume down a little bit? We're getting some sort of feedback here. How's that?
It ended. Yay.
Yeah, sometimes we get feedback, when you start talking and you get going on the broadcast. But Jennifer, so everyone knows, again, you are an attorney, Jennifer Hargrave. You're with Hargrave Family Law, and let's put the information up here so everyone knows. And you're out off of there's 4201 Spring Valley Road and in Dallas, Texas. And I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you, Cece. It's an honor to be here. I love the work that you're doing. You are putting out such good information for people who are beginning that next stage of their life. And, it's a big transition, but it's important to, pull together all the resources you can to make sure it's the best life ever. So I think what you're doing is great.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I like your attitude with regards to going through the divorce, because, and you and I were talking on the phone, and this is how we came up with our title, is really holding on to your core values. And so often we feel that we have to make decisions that maybe aren't, that we don't necessarily have to make, that are going to affect our core values, and our core values are very, very important. So tell us a little bit about you and your journey on what made you decide that you wanted to go into, being an attorney and then specializing in family law.
Well, thank you for asking that question. I wish I had a good story about why I wanted to become a lawyer. I was a very young college graduate and wasn't ready to go in and get a job, and thought I'd do more education, so I rolled into law school. But the only thing I really knew in law school was the one area of law I did not want to practice was family law. It was at a time in the early 90s when lawyers were getting shot at the courthouse, and judges too, before they had all the metal detectors. And that's, a serious side. I knew family law was serious business, right? This is people's lives are at stake, their property, their relationship with their children, and you're dealing with significant mental health issues. So for the first 10 years out of law school, I went in-house with a corporation, a well-known financial services corporation, and it was truly the most boring job of my life. So I really wasn't getting to interact with people and have an impact in their lives. And I had a colleague who was a family law practitioner. She did primarily mediations, and I went and visited with her, and I really saw a whole nother dimension to the world of family law practice, that really we're dealing with issues that matter so significantly for people and that will make a difference for generations to come. So I made the transition into family law, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah, family law, and I would think of divorces and such, it can be like a roller coaster ride. I'm sure there's statutes, there's laws, there's various different things, elements within it that that are pretty much set. But the emotional roller coaster ride that the individuals go on can make it very challenging, can't it?
Absolutely. I tell people that what I love most about what I do is that I get to see people at a stage in their life where they may feel hopeless. It's, great sadness and grief. And through the divorce process, I get to see them come out on the other side and really ready to start a new chapter. And I love keeping in touch with so many of my former clients who go on to do great things. They'll fall in love again, have great new careers. And so I know that divorce is not a destination. It is not a life-defining moment. It is a period of transition. And so I always want to help my clients keep that focus, that the pain you're feeling right now, it's a temporary pain. You're not going to be here forever. So what can we do to help you get ready for that next chapter to be fabulous and to be fulfilling? And, there's so much more of life to live. So that really is my focus in working with my clients, is just to make sure we're moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I so agree with that, because so often they're fighting and they're arguing, but why? Because they're going to be getting divorced. I mean, if you're there, and this is what I tell my divorce support group, if you're there and the papers are filed, the likelihood that you're going to be bringing it back, unless you decide you want to work on your relationship more, is very slim. So what we need to do is try to get you through it in the healthiest way possible. And then, and keeping you abreast of what's happening and such. And so I think that really makes it a lot easier for those that are traveling through that period of divorce. But you also do some other things too. I notice on your website, like you do prenups agreements and you do things like that. And I really like your website, and I'd like to shout that out to people here so they know that you have videos. Let's see, we got a comment here. Let's bring this up. Let's see, we've got someone that says, super show. Okay, thank you. We love you for that. And then the other one is Linda Vale. She said, Cece loves your show, but she has been happy for 32 years, but she's a very good friend and she's faithful. She watches my stuff. So she's awesome and gives me encouragement and tweaks it when I need to do something different. She helps me out. So that's what friends are for. So, but on your site, I wanted to share with everyone, because you have videos, you got these little videos on there that talk about various different questions that you have as you're traveling through divorce. And I think that's very inspirational, so that you can go back and listen to those when they're going through some of those difficult times. And then, of course, we've got our wonderful shows that are here, and we hope that they'll listen to those. But I think that that's important, and that's taken a step above what you normally see on some of the websites for the attorneys. So I really want to say kudos to you for that, because I think that's great to be able to answer some of their questions. Because the thing is, don't you find, Jennifer, if you can kind of relieve some of the fear that they have as they're moving through the process of divorce, it makes the groundwork a little bit easier, makes it easier for you?
Absolutely. I think fear is such a problem in so many different aspects of our lives. And, we don't know at the beginning how it's going to end. There's so many things that we don't know, but what I do know is that there is going to be an end, right? So I think you just keeping focus on the future and really, what you can control, let's focus on those areas, the things that you can do to build yourself up. And like I said, to have this be a period of growth for you, those are all the things that you can control. What you can't control is how somebody else is going to respond. You can't control whether somebody is going to want to have a nasty drag out fight. You can show up as the very best you, and that's really important. And so even for my clients where we've had the big contentious litigation cases, they know at the end of it that they were true to their own values. And I think getting really clear about what you value and holding on to that value as really your compass through to the divorce process is so very, very important. So we really are focused on giving our clients resources and helping them envision that new future. And sometimes they can't see it, and sometimes they're having a really bad day. And my job that day is to help hold hope for them, and to help them remember, all the things they told me that were important to them, all the things that they wanted to accomplish, and to help refocus and get out of the negative headspace. Because, if we come into the divorce process and we, imagine the very worst things happening to us, and it almost becomes a self-fulfilling destiny. And that's why I spend time really, focusing with my clients on, what do you want out of this? Where do you want to be? What are the positive things that can come? It's not that there's not pain. There is absolutely pain. We know grief is the measure of love. And if you've been in a relationship with somebody who you've just adored and loved, and they've decided to leave you, that can be, a heart-wrenching experience. But the interesting thing is, for a lot of people, even if you're the one whose partner is leaving, you probably have been ignoring all the pain points in the marriage, and in order to hold it together. But when we kind of peel back and give permission to look at those pain points, you realize, oh my God, I was so uncomfortable. This was such the wrong marriage for me. And, it's like walking in a pair of shoes that are just really uncomfortable, and you don't even know how uncomfortable they are until you take them off. And then you realize what, the discomfort that you were in. So I think usually a lot of people, when they begin to open up and see that this marriage really wasn't everything, it wasn't the idealistic, it wasn't meeting my needs, and so they can begin to build that new future.
Yeah, that is so right. I've often said that you won't necessarily heal if you don't understand the part you played in the demise of your relationship. Often we think, oh, well, it's all of them. But then when we start realizing, did we just sweep something under the table? Did we not pay attention to it? Were the signs there?
Well, I think you bring up something that is so critically important. It is really easy, and it is, I think, human nature to blame. When we are uncomfortable, we want to find somebody to blame it on. We live in a culture that blames. Right now, you can't turn on the news without, hearing politicians blaming each other for whatever's happened, and that's the culture. The thing about blame is that it gives the responsibility to somebody else, and it makes you a victim, and you are then powerless in your own situation. And I get to see time and time again that when somebody says, you know what, I'm going to quit with the blame, I'm going to quit with the shame, I'm not looking back, I'm focusing on looking forward, and they're willing to take responsibility. I mean, personal responsibility is where growth happens, and it's where healing happens, and it's where our greatest potential for the very best future is. Certainly there are things in a relationship that you didn't have control over and that were hurtful to you, and I'm not discounting that. If you've lived through betrayal, or you've lived through a partner who has either been emotionally abusive, or maybe, committed adultery and had relationships with other people, there's a lot there that you were not responsible for. But if you can see that, what I was responsible for was refusing to see the truth of the situation. What I was responsible for was telling myself a whole bunch of lies, or giving into a whole set of fears that kept me stuck in a really unhealthy situation. Then healing happens and growth happens. And it's exciting to see.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think it does when you finally start getting a hold of that and start understanding that. It does allow you to start moving forward and start kind of working out your life as you want it to be. We have another comment here. Hey, Mark, thank you so much. Yes, I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well. So it is so nice to have you here listening. We appreciate it. So we've got some definitely loyal followers, so I do appreciate that. And they're all worried, with the coronavirus and how we're all doing with that. So what is the process in Texas? Is it a little bit, we're in Florida here, so how long, what is the length of the process there for divorce?
Oh, that in Texas, of course, I don't know how it's done anywhere else. So all I can tell you is how we do it in Texas, but we have a 60-day mandatory waiting period from the time the divorce is filed. So I know some jurisdictions make that a lot longer. I think with politicians idealizing that, reconciliation is going to happen. In my experience, the longer the process, the more animosity there is. So I don't think it really helps our families. I think 60 days is a good amount of time. That's the shortest time where we can get somebody divorced. I tell my clients my experience, and this is purely anecdotal. I don't have any, statistics to quote, but generally most people in my experience could stand to be in the divorce process for about 6 to 9 months. And that's the sweet spot when we usually will get a resolution to the outstanding issues. We'll go to mediation and get things settled. It may still be a little while longer before all the papers get finalized and filed. But at least if you've gone to mediation, what the deal is, and that you're, for all purposes, you're done with your divorce. So if we can streamline it and get people through the process, minimize fees, minimize pain, but be thorough and efficient and make sure we're working towards their goals, then that's the ideal. So we have plenty of divorces that we do that are pretty short run. They come into the process and they're in agreement on most of the substantive issues. And then we have those that go on for years. So, but on average, 6 to 9 months is what I think is reasonable to expect before you know how all those pieces are going to fit together.
Yeah. It is a process. And of course, you have to go through that process to get to the end of it. But while you're in that process of the divorce, often what I think is a good time, just like we're doing here with the coronavirus, we're home, we're not able to do some of the things that we normally do. It's a good time to work on yourself. It's a good time to start cleaning your closets and start thinking about what you want in life and making a list of what's important to you and where you see yourself in a few years' time. And so, tapping into your core values, what's important to you, read some good books that help bring some of those things to you. That's very, very important, because I think if we tap into our core values, what we'll find is the goodness around us will really surface, and that fighting and that bickering and things like that happens within the process of divorce sometimes will help, don't you think?
I do think so. And I'll tell you, core value is a phrase that I really heard developed by Dr. Stephen Stosny. He's a psychologist, and he's written a lot of great books on emotional abuse, surviving betrayal, and he has a whole workbook on core value. But when I'm working with a client who's sitting there and they are feeling so distraught over the current situation, and I ask them to tell me about the things in your life that bring you joy. Tell me about the things that, nature. Where do you go to feel peace? Is it the beach? Is it the mountains? Where's your special place? Think of that. Think of the great works of beauty that humans have created. Maybe you enjoy going to the ballet or to the theater, or you enjoy art galleries or whatever that creation is. Where is it that you admire that beauty in the life? What significant relationships do you have where when you're with that person, there's such a strong connection? And you know they love you for who you are. You are truly valued. Maybe that's a parent, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a cousin. Those relationships remind us of what's really important and lovable about ourselves. Spiritual life is so important for so many people. And so if that's been a part of your life, this is absolutely a time to connect with those traditions that bring meaning and joy. So when we talk about core value, it is those things that help us connect with the beauty that is within us, the beauty that is outside of us. It is our own humanity, our own goodness. And when that is full, and when we spend time to really embrace that part of ourselves, life and the plans we have for our future and our other relationships just takes on a whole different fulfilling meaning. It's when we're disconnected from that core value, when we've been in a relationship with somebody who's told us, you are worthless, you don't do anything right, and that's happened over and over again, or they've left us and we're left feeling like we're not good enough, or we were raised in a home where that was the message that we were told all growing up, is that you're not good enough. You know, that's where so much pain happens. And if we can just take time and heal that part and really invest in our own core value, there's, you know, transformation happens there. And it happens, you know, in so many different aspects of our lives. And it really is a time of change to make things better.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And when we were talking prior to the show, I thought you hit it on the head, I think, with regards to understanding your core values. You know, myself coming out of my marriage, I didn't even know what made me happy anymore, you know, because I was always living my life according to what, you know, what his expectations was, what he wanted. And not that I was like totally unhappy, but when someone said to me, well, what is your joy? Beats me, you know, my kids, I guess, you know, that's about it. So it was really a time of growth for me. And so now when I coach other people that are going through the divorce, then I really do feel like, you know, take this, even though it's a sad traveling, you know, sad path you're taking. It can be one of growth and inspiration, and one that you can look back on and you can say, yes, the process was a little daunting at times. It was a little, you know, little hard for me to bear at times, but within that comes strength, right? Endurance, you know, and all of those wonderful things that really start molding and making you the individual that you are walking into. I often tell those that are traveling it is that, you know, who you are today is not who you're going to be tomorrow. So let's focus on that person you're going to be tomorrow. Let's focus on that person, well, the one you're stepping into. And
you are so right. You know, I think that in our culture and so much of our upbringing and the relationships that are modeled around us, there's this idea that you're supposed to sacrifice yourself for the other person in the relationship. And the problem is that you just give yourself away, right? And if you've been in a relationship that is not working, it's destructive, you likely have given yourself away. And to take time and allow yourself to really reconnect and remember, what do I like? I mean, for some people, it can be really challenging. Like, I don't even know what I want to eat for dinner. I've spent my whole 20 years of my marriage, you know, making sure I didn't have any onions in the recipe, but I love onions, you know? So you need to take time and find those things that you set aside about yourself that you may even have forgotten. But explore and, you know, give yourself permission to dream and imagine. If there's a place you've wanted to travel, you know, this is a great time to pull out the bucket list. And I always tell people, like, don't confine yourself, right? It may be totally unfeasible right now, especially to go do a cruise around the world. Nobody's doing any of that right now, but it doesn't mean that it won't happen again in the future. And it doesn't mean that you can't set it as a goal and then make that happen at some later date. So I say dream big, and, you know, and allow yourself freedom to just explore and remember who you are, the wonderful parts about your soul. And strength, that inner strength and that resiliency and the goodness that we feel about ourselves when we have overcome something that is so difficult. It's an amazing testament to the human spirit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So there is goodness on the other side. And so in keeping your core values intact. Now, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about, you know, when we're stepping into like doing, you know, parental, agreements and things like that. Because, you know, I have some advice that I give the guys when we're going through that. So I'm kind of curious to see what your, because you're definitely an emotional based attorney. So you do look at their emotions and you tap in on that and you understand their feelings and all that. It's not just textbook for you. It's not just filing. And so I want to talk a little bit about that as you're going through when you have a family and you're moving through that. I think that would be interesting. So we're just going to take a real quick break. And I think that will be sufficient here for us, but we have to take a quick break for our advertisers. And I just want to throw out there that I want to thank Quest Fine Jewelers for, we'll run their ticket below, for supporting our station, Going Solo Network. We appreciate all that they do. It's Quest Fine Jewelers. Their phone number is 877-860-0826, and they're there on Lee Highway in Fairfax, Virginia. And they support us here on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and so we want to thank them for that. So we're just going to have a moment of silence, so when we go to drop in our advertisers, we have the spot for it. Okay, guys, I want to thank you so much for listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are the #1 internet singles talk network, and we're really proud of that. We want to thank all you singles for listening to our shows, and those of you that are in relationships, we want to thank you for also listening to us, because we appreciate the fact that you want to continue building your relationship and you want to keep being strong in all that you do with your partner. And we hope that we have good quality shows that will help you continue that growth and that individual spirit in which you have too. We want to tap in on that. Our website is goingsolomedia.com. That's where you're going to find all of our wonderful hosts that we have here on WGSN-DB. And you can find us live on YouTube, right here on Facebook. So we hope that you'll tap into our YouTube channel. Gosh, we've got like over 500 shows now, from mine and various different wonderful hosts that we have from all different types of shows. We've got health and fitness. We've got the barbershop show, a men's show. We've got divorce shows, dating shows. We've got just an array of different things. And we're tapping into more business shows and things like that as we go along. We've got our wonderful Authors Corner. So I hope you guys will tap into that. So that is a plug for our station. So we're going to go back to my show, which is Going Solo with Cece. We have a wonderful attorney here with us tonight. I am just delighted to have her all the way from Texas. Let's bring her forward. Again, her name is Jennifer Hargrave, and we want to thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Cece. I'm really enjoying this.
Good. I'm so glad that you are. Well, we're talking a little bit about core values. In the first part of the show, you were just so terrific with really understanding, the individual as they're moving through the divorce, really tapping into, what they're going to be in the future, some of the inspiring self-help things that they can focus on. But I thought maybe this part of the show, we could talk a little bit about often one of the biggest fears I hear when people are going through divorce, when they have a family, they're so worried about losing that family connection. And what I have found, maybe even in my own life, is that you can still have a very strong connection with your children. Maybe one part, the part of it being married or that spouse is, is disappearing in life or separating in life, but you can establish a different type of relationship with them, hopefully down the road, as some of the pain wears off. But share with us a little bit about what you tell some of the, fathers and the ones that are being separated so much from their children. How do you cope with that as you're moving through trying to figure it out? How many days and how many nights and all of this kind of thing.
Well, that's a good question, and of course it's unique for the different situations, right? So we've definitely seen an uptick in the number of parents who are both working parents. They acknowledge that, hey, we need each other and we need to be able to back each other up, and they negotiate a 50-50 parenting time schedule. That varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Our courts generally don't order that unless the parents have been doing that. But, the most important thing, I think, if you're a parent and you're facing divorce, is to, first of all, just know that you are an important person in your child's life and development. And if somebody in the relationship has tried to shame you or minimize your role, assuming there aren't other factors going on, I just want to tell you that you don't back away. Your kids need you now more than ever. It may take time to rebuild some of that, Parents do terrible things to each other in divorces. They tell children more than the children need to know, and that can have a very negative impact on a parent-child relationship. So be careful what you're telling your children. If you all are in a tug of war fighting over the children, a tug of war doesn't happen if one of the people drops the rope. Right now, we don't have a tug of war. Now, I'm not saying you give up the battle, you don't, but I want you to be really, really careful about the battle that you're choosing to fight. So if you are fighting to stay in your child's life, that is critical. But if the other parent is telling the child negative things about you, what I do not, we know this, do not get in that game. That is a tug of war game you do not want to play. You do not want to be reciprocating with your mom's a liar, your dad's, telling you all this stuff. Here's what you need to know. Children need to know one thing above everything else, and that one thing is that they are loved. And really to focus on that parent-child connection. We talked about how important it is to connect with yourself, but pour into your children and try, if there's negative stuff and negative noise coming from the other parent, I want you to put on your noise-proof headphones and don't listen to it. Don't let that impact. When your child is with you, pour into that child and love that child, and don't engage in that negative talk, because that is what creates so much conflict and pain for the kids. So, I think that's the big takeaway I have is my mom told me when I first had my children, there are all these parenting books you can read about how to do it right and how to do it wrong, but it really all comes down to one thing, and that most important thing is that you love your child. Yeah. Love your child, and then everything else will figure itself out. But children, they know when they're loved. They know when you're the safe parent, because you're not the one bad-mouthing the other parent all the time. And so be that parent. And the noise will settle down most of the time. And if it doesn't, you need to be working with your lawyer, coming up with a game plan. And, we have great mental health professionals. There's a lot of work done in the area of reunification and helping parents rebuild a relationship with their child.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very true to tap into a professional, a therapist or someone, and try to help walk you through some of those areas. But I always tell the guys or the gals is really tap into your core values. What would you do? What is be your best self through this? And again, when the noise settled down, you'd be surprised how things just kind of fall into place and be active and such. So it really does do that. And I was just going to share with you that my daughter, I remember one time my daughter got angry with me about something. I said, but hey, you didn't come with a manual. It's like,
Yeah. It would be nice if they did, right? You need a manual.
It says right here, you're supposed to go to bed on time.
Well, here's the other thing is that there is no such thing as a perfect parent. There just isn't. And somehow in our imperfections, we're teaching our children how to do this thing called life, right? And if we make a mistake, you're going to role model for your children what happens when you make a mistake. And it's okay to say, you know what, sweetie, I way overreacted today. That was me last night. I hit my ceiling, and I had to scale back and say, you know what, that reaction was a little too strong, and role model that for them. But yes, it all comes down to core value. When you're feeling centered and connected to yourself, your relationships are a lot stronger, and you're loving your children because you love them, not because you need to get something back from them. So much, I think, of what we do, especially in conflict situations, what we would tend to do naturally is the exact wrong thing to do. So that's what, I think it is very natural to blame the other parent when you're with your children, to say, your dad decided to leave us. This wasn't my decision, right? That's the absolute worst thing. So get as much education as you can. Listen to the advice that makes sense and resonates with your values, with, you know, what you want to bring to the table. And remember, you're teaching your children how to handle conflict. They are watching you, and they are watching every move. And this is really an opportunity to, you know, grow together. I mean, you don't have all the answers. Maybe I probably have never been through a divorce together, and neither have they. So you are heading into new chartered territory. That's okay. It's okay to say, you know, I don't have all the answers right now. I don't know what this is going to look like, but I do know I love you. And I do know that this isn't permanent, right? And if, you know, I have 3 teenagers in my house right now. But children go through their phases so fast. And, you know, when you have that perspective, you can look back and think, oh my gosh, they were, you know, when they were an infant, it felt like it was going to be forever. And now it was just the blink of an eye. And that's, these phases in life are phases. They don't last forever. And so I think helping bring that perspective to the parent-child relationship can be really important too. So if you're in an ugly phase right now, or the kids don't want to spend time with you, you just keep showing up, and you keep being present, and you keep cheering for them. And, you know, you keep sending them little emails that say, I love you, I'm thinking about you, I hope you had a great day. And you do those things to show them that you care. And they know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Something else I noticed on your website was a video that you had about, and I thought this was interesting, was about something like he or she is not making them as much money as they were before. They're trying to hide their money or something like that. And you did a video on that saying, hey, wake up, because, you know, the court system is going to get that if you made 6 figures before and now all of a sudden you're only making, you know, 20, 30,000, the judge is going to get smart enough to figure out you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing.
People think they are so original in how they're going to get out of obligations. And let me tell you that you're not so original. It's been done before. And, you know, pretty much I've seen it all, right? So definitely have seen the attempts to hide accounts. And, you know, we get the bank records, and look, there's tens of thousands of dollars being transferred to this account. Like, I mean, I know how to find this stuff. Or, yeah, I mean, I have seen people make really bad decisions to try to avoid child support, right? So they have a really successful career path. They own a thriving business, and all of a sudden now they can't find work, and they're not finding work, and now they have no income coming in, and they lose their house. And why? Because they're trying to avoid obligations. Now, there are certainly times, and especially right now, we're facing this. I mean, it is absolutely beyond people's control. You know, you've been furloughed from work, you're not bringing in the income. And so there are definitely legitimate reasons why that happens. But there's a difference in the person who is trying and understands their obligation to be there to support their kiddos versus, you know, the parent who is trying to get out of it any way possible and really end up hurting themselves at the end.
But I thought it was really good, a good little video that you had made on that, because nobody ever touches that. And I thought, oh, this is a good one, because it's a real wake-up call for somebody that thinks they're going to try to get something, you know, under the table, that they're going to be able to push something or hide something, and it's just not going to happen. And eventually, if it does happen, it's going to hurt you in the long run. So you just don't want to go there. So thanks, Mark. We appreciate you commenting. So he has to run, take care. We appreciate you listening. So that is great. Well, you know, our time is kind of coming to the end, Jennifer. So I want to make sure that we have your information out there. Now, just explain to me real quick that you're in Texas. So can you handle the entire state, or do you go by a county, or?
Well, I mean, I can practice in the entire state, and I have practiced in a lot of different places within the state. It usually, for most people, doesn't make sense to hire a lawyer to have to travel 6 hours to the other side, or 12 hours, since Texas is a big state. So we focus our practice in the Dallas area. So that's where most of our clients are and most of our work is. But I mean, there are times when we've gone to other parts of the state too. It just depends.
That's great. Now, what about with the coronavirus here? And you've probably been working a great deal from home, so you can do virtual type of meetings, right?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting week. I mean, we are definitely active. We are busy and working. We're doing mediations by Zoom. I've had like 4 cases, I think, settle in the past couple weeks via Zoom mediation, which is fabulous. We're doing hearings by Zoom. Our judges initially they started off hearing only emergency issues via Zoom, and now everybody's kind of got acclimated to it, and they're opening it up a little bit more. So we're hearing urgent matters. It doesn't have to be a life or death issue. So yeah, we're meeting with clients virtually. We're able to look at documents together and do all of that stuff. So it's not ideal. I like the personal connection and being able to be in closer proximity with my clients. But it has worked, and it is working. And you know, we know that there are a lot of people out there right now who are struggling in a relationship, and they feel like they don't have any options. And that's just not true. There are options. So, you know, we like to help people resolve their cases outside of the courtroom anyway, every chance that we can. And so, you know, that's what we do anyway.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. I wonder if the world's changing a little bit and we're going to do a little bit more virtual meetings.
I think so. I've kind of gotten used to rolling into my dining room in the mornings. And
wear your sweatpants, and, you know, you have no makeup and all that. You just have to put it on when you have to.
Yes, which I did right before this show.
I totally get that myself. Well, I just want to make sure everybody's got your information. It's Hargrave Family Law. This is Jennifer, and she's right here with us. And the address is 4201 Spring Valley Road, Suite 1210, and that's in Dallas, Texas. And the zip is 75244. So if you are having a divorce in the Dallas area, please check out her law firm, and you'll find it right there on hargravefamilylaw.com. And if you want to give her a call, just call it 214-420-0100. And then the email, I hope I have it right. I have it assistant@jhfamilylaw.com.
Yeah.
So it's a general one. So if you go ahead, if you're going to send a email, maybe just mention, you know, Jennifer's name, so that way she would, well, it goes to you, it's JH. So yeah. So
we get
direct. I thought I went to like a box, but no, it's.
Well, I will just say we also have social media, so we're active on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and other places too. So we would love to connect with you outside of this.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, you'll find your show live right here on, it'll be on the platform here on our WGSN, so Facebook page, and then also on our YouTube. So it'll be there.
I look forward to hearing it.
Yeah. So anyone, if you missed the first part of it, and you want to definitely catch it, because I think it's really it has good content for sure. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being on the show here with us today.
Thank you, CC. I've really enjoyed it.
No, we enjoyed it very much, and I hope that you'll come back again and visit us, and maybe we'll have another topic that we can discuss.
I'd love to.
That'd be great, because we always have topics when it comes through divorce, that's for sure. Well, and also rebuilding. I think when we're starting to rebuild our lives, you know, that kind of thing. So yes, for sure. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your time, and I think it's been a great show, so thank you.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, it went very, very quickly. Again, you guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. If you can do me a favor, please like it, share, and post a comment. We would love to hear a little bit more about what you're doing and how you're liking the shows. And if you'd like to email me privately, all you have to do is go to goingsolonetwork@gmail.com, and you can email me there. Don't forget, we've got our websites. If you want to know about everything our Going Solo Network is doing, you can find it on goingsolonetwork.com. Our media, our WGSN, is from goingsolomedia.com. And then we've got our brand new divorce transition site, and that is goingsolonextstep.com. So you can find us there. And we've got a lot of exciting things happening, so you don't want to miss out on anything at all. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed Jennifer Hargrave as much as I did. She's all the way from Dallas, Texas. She's a delight, really an attorney that speaks from the heart. And I hope that you, hope you embrace her. So please, do a shout out to her, join her on Facebook or any of the social media. Let her know that you really connected with her. And we want to really appreciate those attorneys that do have a heart, that are helping out, that are helping them not only get through the process of divorce, but also grow from within, because that is truly the blessing, isn't it? Making your life, living it, one step at a time, exactly the way you want it. That's what it's all about. So you guys are listening to Cece. I am Cece Schatz, and this is Going Solo with Cece. I'll see you right back here, same time, same place next week. Bye for now.